Daniel Sorensen is one blown coverage away from having Tehran. Daniel Sorensen in the Kansas City. The reason I legitimately love doing these videos each week is because of you guys, the section of fantasy YouTube that's actually interested in unearthing some gem starters every single week instead of relying on surface level bullshit analysis to tell you to start the elite level studs, right? And all of us really appreciate the idea of digging into the process in order to unearth some of these guys, looking deep into the stats, instead of just relying on analysis that any one of us, me, you, anyone watching, could do in their sleep. So thanks for that. Seriously, it makes this stuff a lot of fun. Even when we, and by we, I mean I, have some misses from week to week, and we'll probably have one or two again this week, but I promise you, I put time into this analysis to make sure I'm giving you the best starters that aren't going to be on everybody's radar that you can pull off your bench as these bye weeks get underway, right? Week 6, we got 4 teams on a bye, so we need to dig a little deeper than we did through the first 5 weeks. And I think I've found 8 amazing starting options for you, whether you were already going to start them, whether you drafted them in the 2nd or 3rd round, or you need a flex spot, you need a bye week filler, you are in the right spot right here. I'm Dave Loughran from Awesemo.com, and as always, we're breaking it all down, must starts and sits for week 6. Let's get into it. Oh, before we do, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Only takes a second. And I'll tell you what, you guys have been killing it with the subs lately on this video. Greatly appreciated. Does not go unnoticed. But if you haven't subbed yet, and a lot of people watching these videos still don't, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below. What do you think of these starters, and who is your must start and must sit for week 6? I read all the comments. I try and respond to them as well. Let's dive into it. Devonta Smith has played pretty damn well for a rookie. He's the wide receiver 33 through 5 weeks, which isn't anything crazy, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he was a top 20 receiver after week 6. Here's why. While Smith only has 1 touchdown on the year, he's already had 2 of them called back by penalties. He's amassed an incredible 556 air yards, good for 8th most in football, and has a behemoth 45% share of his team's air yards, which ranks behind only Brandon Cooks, Calvin Ridley, Tyreek Hill, and Terry McLaurin. And while there were some concerns about the Eagles being a run-first team with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, only 4 teams have a lower game script adjusted rush play percentage than Philadelphia. So basically, the Eagles are running at the 5th lowest clip in football regardless of game script. Oh, and even though Smith has only caught 2 of his 9 deep targets this year, and we all know air yards are nothing without you actually being able to haul some of them in, the man gets open. So the big plays are definitely coming. Now he's going to face the biggest pass funnel defense in the league when the Bucs come to Lincoln Financial Field. You simply cannot run against Tampa Bay, and teams aren't even trying to anymore. They've only seen 79 rushing attempts against them through 5 weeks, but they've already coughed up 13 passing touchdowns and a league-high 225 attempts against. Tampa's offense, combined with their run defense, is so good that teams have no choice but to air it out for 60 straight minutes. There's just no way I'm sitting Smith on Thursday night. And by the way, if you're short on tight end options, Zach Ertz might be in play. Dallas Goedert is on the COVID-19 reserve list for a Thursday night football game. Assuming he doesn't play, that's going to open a lot up for Zach Ertz at the tight end position. Meanwhile, I'm sitting all of the Eagles' backfield. Like I said, 2.9 yards per attempt allowed on the ground for Tampa Bay this year. And opponents are only averaging 15.8 rushing attempts per game. Given the uncertainty in the backfield between Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell, it's a really tough spot to feel good about anybody. But if you're going to go with anyone here, I'd lean Kenneth Gainwell, only because if one of these guys is going to have a Myles Gaskin type performance from last week, it would probably be him. But still, very tough situation for the backs in Philadelphia. Let's get something out of the way before we get to our next players. You're starting Jamar Chase this week. And if you drafted Joe Burrow as your starting quarterback, you're starting him too. Chase is the clear number 1 option in Cincinnati right now, and he has been dominant as a rookie. So I'm not going to spend time talking about why he should be in your starting lineups. You know what the play is here. But what about T. Higgins and Joe Mixon? Higgins returned from injury in week 5, hauling in 5 of 7 targets for 32 scoreless yards. It was an underwhelming return from Higgins, but he'll have a golden opportunity to bounce back in week 6 against the Lions. Detroit is coughing up a heinous 10 yards per attempt to passers, and unsurprisingly ranks dead last in pass coverage grade according to PFF. Higgins hasn't enjoyed the same downfield targets that Chase has, but his 23% target share and team-leading 3 red zone targets, 2 inside the 10, and he's only played 3 games, suggests that Higgins is still a big part of this Bengals offense no matter the emergence of Chase. Meanwhile, Mixon should be back to full strength after an ankle injury limited him to 10 carries and a reception in Week 5. It was very clear that Zach Taylor made a concerted effort to limit Mixon due to injury, though, seeing that he touched the ball on almost 60% of his snaps, but was only on the field for 28% of offensive plays. And it's also possible that Samaje Perine, who saw a lot of passing down work on Sunday, misses Week 6 after being placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. The Lions have allowed more fantasy points to running backs than any other team and can be carved up in any facet of their defense. So the bottom line here, if you have Bengals players on your roster, you probably want to start them. Michael Pittman is going to be a stud. Shit, he might already be a stud. Did you see that touchdown on Monday night? He came over the top of 2 defenders to make a spectacular grab on an unsurprisingly bad ball by Carson Wentz, then powered through contact and dove into the end zone. It was his first touchdown since Week 11 of his rookie season, and only the second of his career. But I suspect we'll be seeing way more trips to the end zone for Pittman, starting with this Week 6 matchup against the Texans. Houston's secondary actually hasn't been that bad, but they haven't exactly faced a murderer's row of passing offenses either. This isn't to say that the Wentz-led aerial attack for Indianapolis is anything special, but with a 31% target share and 48% of his team's air yards since Week 2, Pittman makes for a great start on Sunday. He's seen 5 targets inside the 10-yard line over that span too, so from a volume and high-quality opportunity standpoint, you'd be hard-pressed to find many better options than Pittman given where you drafted him. This is an absolute must-win game for the Colts, who have fallen to 1-4 after a brutal schedule to start the season and an even worse loss to Baltimore in Week 5. But the crazy thing is they aren't even out of it yet. Their schedule gets way easier, they're only 2 games behind the Titans, and their entire division stinks. Pittman has already been good. But look at Indy's upcoming schedule and tell me you don't want this guy on your team and in your starting lineup. I'd be looking to trade for him in any league where you can make it work and start him in every league in Week 6. At this point, it's become pretty obvious. Leonard Fournette is the clear lead back for Tampa Bay. He's handled 67% of all running back carries and red zone attempts for the Bucs and has 24 targets on the season, of which 5 have come in the red zone. He's running 26 routes per game and is 6th among all running backs in receiving yards. Suffice it to say, Fournette has been pretty good and is the RB15 on the season. That could improve after Thursday night, though, when he'll likely run wild on the Eagles, who have been skewered by rushing attacks to the tune of 142 yards per game on a league-high 33.4 carries. So no, they haven't been terrible from an efficiency standpoint, but the Eagles simply won't be able to stop the Bucs this week, and Fournette should be a primary beneficiary. With an average of 16 total looks per game on one of the most efficient and potent offenses in football, Fournette should have every opportunity to produce. And Tampa has the second highest implied total on the week at almost 30 points against an Eagles team that's been slaughtered by the only 2 good offenses they've faced this season. Make it 3 on Thursday night. I'll keep this short, but I just wanted to help quell some of the fears about DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, it absolutely sucks that the Cardinals were able to move to 5-0 without relying on heavily utilizing Hopkins, but Week 5's win over the 49ers was very encouraging. Hopkins may still be without a double-digit target game on the year, but his 9 looks on Sunday were good for a 32% target share, given that Kyler Murray only had 28 targeted attempts on the day. Hopkins has run a route on 98% of dropbacks and has played 93% of snaps on the season. So yeah, some big games will be in store for the perennial Pro Bowler, and another one could come this week against the Browns. Cleveland will be 1 week removed from an all-out war against the Chargers that featured 89 total points and the Browns defense coughing up almost 400 yards through the air. They're better than they looked last Sunday, no doubt, but Hopkins is still one of the league's preeminent receivers, and if you drafted him in the second round, you gotta play him. In case you were getting a little frisky thinking about putting him on the bench, remember, this is the same guy who could fool you into thinking his movements are being manipulated by an Xbox controller in Madden. He's that good. And this game has a 50-point total in Cleveland where the Cardinals are actually 2.5-point dogs. You know what to do. If you love fantasy football and you haven't played daily fantasy football yet, well, I got an amazing offer for you. And my only hesitation in telling you this is that you're just going to stop watching my videos here on this channel. But that's cool. You can head over to our main channel, the DFS one, and, well, we'll be square. But check this out. If you sign up for Yahoo Fantasy as a new user, got to be a new user, using the link below in the description and deposit just $10 or more if you'd like, but only has to be $10. You will get 1 full free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's everything on the site. And it's not just football, baseball, basketball, hockey, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, even esports. If they have contests out there, we've got content for it. And all of the tools you need to win at Yahoo as well. Ownership projections, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, the lineup builder, and so much more, all of which are built by the #1 ranked DFS player out there, Awesemo himself. Won millions of dollars using these very tools I'm talking about right now. So check it out. Go to Yahoo, sign up using the link in the description, deposit $10 or more. They will send their information over to us and we will email you with the steps to get your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, a $90 value. You got to check DFS out. You're going to love it. And well, you can use all of the tools on the site. And of course, follow along every single day of the week with our DFS content on the Awesemo YouTube channel as well. Check it out. Link in the description below. We'll see you over there. Yo, how about Ricky Seals-Jones? The fifth-year journeyman took over for Logan Thomas early in week 4 when Washington's starting tight end went down with a hamstring injury, and he's actually been pretty involved. Seals-Jones had a 20% target share in week 5 and has now played all but one offensive snap since Thomas hit the shelf. That's crazy. And he's definitely not just blocking. Seals-Jones has run a route on 85% of passing plays, which puts him in prime position to serve as a strong bye-week filler, or for those of you who are missing a tight end to injuries like Thomas, George Kittle, or Rob Gronkowski if he remains out. Honestly, even if you have a middling starting tight end in a tough matchup, I'd definitely consider scooping up Seals-Jones and using him as a streamer against the Chiefs. Think of this. Kansas City's defense might be the worst in the league. Seriously, they're allowing a league-high 32.6 points per game, 7.1 points per play, and have allowed at least 29 points every single week and 30 plus since week 2. I mean, Daniel Sorensen in the Kansas City secondary is one blown coverage away from having Tyrann Mathieu assault him in the end zone. It's been ungodly bad lately, resulting in the Chiefs having allowed 8 completions of over 40 yards in only 5 weeks. They're that bad. But the Chiefs aren't just bad in coverage. Their run defense is atrocious too. They've allowed 5.2 yards per attempt, a league-high 9 rushing touchdowns, and 142 yards per game. So while Antonio Gibson is dealing with a stress fracture in his shin, and we aren't stoked about that, you pretty much have to start him this week too. 20 carries in week 5, albeit 20 inefficient ones, is still 20 carries. And sure, he probably won't see that type of volume unless Washington somehow doesn't allow a boatload of points, but he's the lead back against PFF's 32nd ranked run defense. Just got to plug him in. You're going to be down several quality running back options in week 6 with 4 teams on a bye. Cordero Patterson, the RB3 through 3 weeks. Can you believe it? Alvin Kamara, and even Michael Carter or Mike Davis if you had to flex them in a deep league. They're all going to be off the board. But we'll also be without Saquon Barkley, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery remains out for a few more weeks, and possibly still Christian McCaffrey and or Dalvin Cook, although I'd hope they're able to suit up. Still, bodies have been strewn across the gridiron over the past few weeks, and sometimes we don't have the luxury of starting a stud in an elite matchup on a great offense. Enter Devontae Booker. Yes, Booker's team is decimated by injuries, and they have to face the Rams in week 6. But that doesn't mean he won't see enough volume to be valuable on Sunday. Consider this. The Giants were tied with the Jets for dead last in offensive touchdowns last year, yet Wayne Gallman, yes, that Wayne Gallman, as the team's clear lead back from week 7 through 14, was the RB7. Now, I'm not saying Booker's going to be great, but I am saying he can still be very productive based on opportunities alone. Take Sunday's beatdown in Dallas, for example. Booker rushed for a touchdown after Barkley went down and caught a touchdown thrown from, ready, Mike Glennon. The hope is that Daniel Jones is going to be good to go this week. The dude's just a straight warrior. But either way, Booker played 97% of snaps after Barkley left early in the game. And ready for this, ran a route on 81% of dropbacks. It's a volume play here, fellas. Definitely not a matchup play. But with all the injuries on offense and the real possibility that Booker plays 90+% of snaps, you could do so much worse. You're starting Tyreek Hill. You're starting Travis Kelce. Come on now, we're not dumb. I don't have to say that. It's just common sense. But what about Mecole Hardman? These are the type of players I love to talk about most from week to week because they're the type of guys that can win you your matchups, especially once bye weeks kick in like they will in week 6. Hardman is coming off a career-high 12 targets, previous career high was 9, and receptions in week 5, and led the Chiefs in receiving yards with 76. Now, it's only fair to add context here. The Chiefs were down a ton of points, and Mahomes was forced to throw 54 times. But Hardman does have a 15% target share on a team that's throwing nearly 40 times per game and has a quarterback who leads the league with 16 passing touchdowns. So yeah, 15% might not be a ton, but these are high-value targets Hardman is seeing. even if he doesn't have the same ADOT as Tyreek Hill. Ultimately, Mahomes is capable of supporting several quality fantasy performances for his pass catchers each week. And with Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the IR, they'll still run the football, but probably less. And they already don't run a lot, especially against the Washington team that ranks top 10 in run defense and 30th in pass coverage. Washington has been crushed through the air this season, with 14 touchdowns allowed and just shy of 300 yards per game. So sitting at 2-3 in the basement of the AFC West, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chiefs' offense erupt against an inferior Washington defense. And although Washington's defensive line can create some problems with their pass rush, the Chiefs' offensive line has allowed only 7 sacks all year, good for 4th best in football. Fire up Hardman this week if you're looking to ride this Kansas City wave on Sunday like I am. Be sure to head over to Awesemo.com for everything fantasy football, DFS, sports betting, you name it. We've got it all. Everything headed up by the #1 ranked fantasy player in the world, Awesemo himself. I'm Dave Loughran. Thanks for hanging out as always. Catch you back here for the next one. Peace.